clear throat about now, Jean would probably be, yeah.
I'll start the show. Welcome everyone to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and on Tuesdays we are in the creative living room of Tim Rathbone, and first of all, let's get an old timer story from Tim about his first experience with the General Handbook of Instructions.
Oh, I was either executive secretary or ward clerk, and I made a copy of it on the church's library copier.
And what year was that?
91, 92.
And
were
did you
they
ever
still
get
cranking them by
Pardon?
hand?
No,
What
no.
were those machines that they'd crank by hand in the library?
Mimeograph.
Mimeographs.
No, it was a Xerox machine. No, I went and made
the 90s
copies.
had technology.
Yeah, I copied the juicy parts that people were talking about. When I was on Genie, people would talk about the handbook and stuff, and I would say, "Oh, you want to find out about it?" So I'd go and I'd copy a portion out and type it up. So if anybody were to ever go into Genie and look for the Mormon stuff, they'd find all these posts from me about the handbook stuff. Then I mailed some to friends.
I'm sure that handbook has changed quite a bit since 91, even.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah,
But
do you know about how many pages were back then?
It was about a quarter of an inch thick.
Was it sometimes in a binder where somebody'd have to pull out pages and put new pages in?
No, it was a book. It was an actual book. It was
The
bound.
book back then.
Back then, you'd get priesthood bulletins, and you'd have to. I think it wasn't a notebook, but it was spiral, and then they'd put the priesthood bulletins in either ahead or behind it to look for stuff.
I guess what I'll do for people is I can put the General Handbook of Instructions that currently exists for bishops and ward members. Does it have segments for stake presidents as well then?
How thick is that, Jean?
Yeah, there were 2 volumes.
Online.
Back then, there were 2 volumes. There was one for General, Relief Society, Priesthood, or Relief Society, Sunday School, and Young Men, Young Women's. And then there was another one for leadership.
And now it's all combined.
But I don't believe that. I don't think this is, even though they say it's combined, I don't think, I'll bet you there's another one that they don't.
Secret handbook, just like a secret stock portfolio. That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure there's another one. Although, don't quote me on that. I'm just guessing.
I'm going to quote you on that. I'm going to quote you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Why does Tim get to be the only one that wears white and we all have to wear black?
You want me to change my shirt?
No, I'm just saying you're the white and delightsome outfit.
Tim is the angel of the group.
Right?
Yeah, we all know where we're going.
Marvel. So I thought today we would talk about the General Handbook because it comes up a lot. It's been in the news here and there for the last few years. The change in the General Handbook in 2015 caused a ruckus. What was that called, Tim? Or do you remember what that was?
That was the exclusion policy.
The exclusion policy was leaked because it wasn't online at the time. Somebody had to leak it.
Yeah.
And somehow John DeLynn and others got word of it and put it out there. I think probably somebody else got word first and told John about it. And so
the exclusion policy was about children who had gay parents, is that correct?
Yeah,
Or is that?
Yes.
children of gay parents could not be baptized or have other callings and stuff like that. And apparently thousands of people resigned because of that. And then Nelson, before he became prophet, talked about it as revelation that from God to an audience in Hawaii, at BYU Hawaii, I think. And then he became prophet, and then he said he announced another change, and then that became a revelation according to him. So God is just fickle that way.
Well, Tim, I'm sorry. Gene, I think that we're going to learn that revelation was wrong tonight, because I've come across a discovery that I can't wait to share with you all.
Oh,
That's right. So one thing we thought of is that the Q15, they really don't have a handbook as far as we're concerned that we know of. I mean, it might be how to handle billions of dollars without anybody knowing. I don't know if that's the recipe for success that they have. But we're going to hold hands virtually, and we're going to channel Jesus tonight. And we're going to think of things that maybe there should be in a not general handbook, but we'll say Q15 Handbook of Instructions. And so, Randy, if you're all ready to go, if you want to start now, or do you want to wait until 100 people are watching?
I'm queued up. So I think that I'll share my story with you. I was out doing a little bit of spring cleaning in my garden, and I turned over a big cement. It's a rock thing that we have in there. And I saw a box, and I kind of brushed it away. And I'll be danged if when I opened that box, I didn't find some plates in there that had writing on them. And the best I can translate is what I've written down. But here's what I think it says. And the thing I know that I got right was to the top 15 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then I sat down, and I've got a hat and I've got rocks. So I went ahead and translated it, and I want to share it with you. And what it says. My dear brethren, I have revealed unto you many things concerning the church. Yea, even that church which beareth the name of my only begotten Son. Thou hast heard these words of my mouth, but hath not given heed unto them. Therefore it is meet that I give unto you further light and knowledge concerning those truths from which thou hast strayed. I would that you heed these words, and perverteth them not, as ye have forgotten those things that I have heretofore spoken, and it pisseth me off.
Righteous pisseth thing.
I think that's what the language said. Concerning the land upon which thou dwellest, yea, even that land that your forefathers hath named Utah, I have heard murmurings against this place and the temperatures therein. Verily I say unto thee, murmureth not, as many are cold, but few are frozen. Yea, even thy father hath a sense of humor. I give unto thee new commandments for the edification of mine saints, and I shall speak unto thee with the manner of speech of these modern days, in order that I knoweth that you comprehendeth my words. First of all, gents, enough with the holier than me speeches. I am the father of all who are upon the earth. Everyone needs to learn about me in their own way and not in yours. When did I ever tell you that you were better than the average Joes off the street? And while we're on the subject, what has possessed you to love only those who are active temple recommend holding members of the LDS Church? Since when have I told you to withhold your love, kindness, and respect for the LGBT community? And who came up with the whole unworthy black thing? Wow, to show your true colors and blame it on me is ballsy, to say the least. In case you have forgotten, I am the one who made them, just like I'm the one who made all 15 of you. Most of these minorities that you continually pick on and try to change show their love for me way more than you do. They don't hide their dirty little secrets in their sacred little closets like you. And let's talk money, shall we? I came up with the idea of tithing, but only for those who can afford to pay it. And guess what? It's not for building your fancy-ass temples and meeting houses. It was meant to help the ones who couldn't afford to help themselves, members of your church or not. You all like to hide the fact that you get paid a buttload of money, and then you come down on the poor widows asking them to pay you and not the other way around. And by the way, why in the devil's playground we call hell are you having the members of your church clean the chapels, the temples, and doing the landscaping? Did you all forget that you have billions of dollars because you're money hoarders? Cut loose with your precious pennies and hire someone to do it so they can have an income and the members can spend a little time with their families. Heaven knows, and that's me, by the way, that you have enough meetings to fill up an entire week. Are you just trying to break up families by keeping them apart? And about all this temple nonsense, you claim to be doing work for the dead. But remember that the dead end up with me. So what do you think you can accomplish by giving them a choice to join your little prayer club after they have joined back up with me? And the little ceremonies you've robbed from the Mason crowd are just the most pathetic thing I've seen in a long time. And boy, have I been around a very long time. The movies, the silly costumes, and the endless standing and sitting, trying to memorize some silly handshakes and names of your secret codes and combinations. I thought I warned you about that. And the temple garments, how uncomfortable and inconvenient are they? Am I right? Get rid of it all. It's embarrassing. And what's even more embarrassing is that you convince these youngsters of mine that they have to be worthy to go into your fancy temples to get married, and that if they don't, they can't be together forever? That's quite crafty. That's quite a crafty way to ensure you continue to get money from them. And as far as weddings, you leave out the most important things about marriage, and that's family. Oh, and speaking of marriage, since when do you get to decide who and what type of individual can marry whom? As long as two people love each other, it can be a man, a woman, a man and a man, two women, two monkeys for all I care. I've heard you all say countless times that the LDS Church is the only church on the earth that's true. Are you kidding me? Where do you come off? You're the only game in town. Any church is good, but the best ones are the humble kind that don't lie. The ones where people don't feel like they can never win and that they have to keep up with the Joneses to even count. That's just ridiculous. Your church ranks way down with the Sadducees and Pharisees that killed my son. Lastly, I would be remiss if I forgot to mention the confession of sins. Do you think that I don't know everything there is to know about each and every one of you? The thrill you get from instilling fears into people by telling them that I will only forgive them if they come and confess to you must give you a real power trip. Apparently, you forgot one of the first things I commanded you, to judge not. Where do you get off on pulling a stunt like that? Is it to make you feel superior to your spiritual dependents? Because guess what? They don't need to depend on you, only on me. Now feel free to talk amongst yourselves, because I have spirits to greet and blessings to bestow. If you want to find me, I'll be in the sound of the breeze, the beautiful waters that flow in the rivers, the smell of the forests and the trees, and in the faces of little children who know so much more about faith than any of you do. And now, brethren, I say unto thee, that I must depart, as many are the spirits that must be greeted and welcomed with pure love and compassion. If thou seekest me, thou wilt find me once again in the beautiful sounds of nature and all the creations upon the earth. And if thou wantest to fill of my spirit, looketh upon the faces of those who who thou hast persecuted, judging them when they deserveth only love. I say these things unto you with loving insistence in the name of my Son, and I maketh an end.
There you go. I could tell that was from God because of all the Adamic language that was in at the beginning.
Well, that's, I translated it to the best of my ability. I hope I did an okay job.
Yeah.
You did fine.
Hooray. If I was Bill Real, we would have a cheering applause track that we would play after that.
Yay.
Yay!
But, so yeah, that's definitely the spirit of the show, and we'll take people's comments as well as they want to come in and give us suggestions for the Q15. So yes, one thing, how about the section on finances we'll talk about for a little while. Maybe there should be some chapters and verses about transparency. Maybe there should be chapters and verses about how money is a resource and it should be used to help people who need it, like the poor that are supposed to be being ministered to by the church. And then also, yes, tithing should be just for those who can afford it. And for the ones that, what was it? Was it Grant that said that someday he prophesied there'd be enough money in the church's coffers so that only those with means would pay tithing?
I think it was Joseph F. Smith.
You think it was Joseph F. Smith that said that?
Or Lorenzo Snow, one of those. I'm not sure.
Joseph F. Snow Grant, I think, is who it was.
You forgot Ulysses in there somewhere.
They're all related anyway, right?
That's right.
By hook or by crook. And I'm talking about the mothers-in-law. No, I'm just kidding there. So anyhow, let's see, what other sections are in the handbook? Like meetings. What, or do you have anything else to add about the finances, Debbie or Tim?
We should have a Jubilee year every 7 years where they don't have to pay tithing all year long.
That would be sensational.
Yeah.
Did they used to do that or no?
I'm not
the
sure.
Catholic Church had Jubilee, right?
Yeah. 7 and 25 years. It's in the Old Testament. That's why a person can file a bankruptcy every 7 years. Goes back to the Old Testament.
Jubilee.
The Jubilee year. I'm looking at the handbook.
Was the Jubilee where you're supposed to forgive your debts or something like that?
Yes. Yes.
I know it was a really good show in Vegas too.
It was.
And John Delaney
have you seen it?
Podcast.
Yeah.
And so we can come back to finances if anybody has any other financial things.
I have something here, and this is from the teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, and this was compiled by Joseph Fielding Smith and published in 1970. And so this is like all of Joseph's personal diaries or whatever accountings that were put into this really fabulous book I got from my dad's house. And this is from their founding prophet, so let's just go there. It says, "Be honest with one another, for it seems that some have come short of these things, and some have been uncharitable and have manifested greediness because of their debts towards those who have been persecuted and dragged about with chains without cause and imprisoned." And I feel like that's what the new tithing doctrine has turned into. It is bondage for these members because they are tithing for their salvation. And I don't believe that, as you said in that book that you found, that, Jesus would have felt like that was the purpose of tithing. And also considering that they want to ask everyone to go and get that special recommend, not only do you have to pay tithing, you are also asked if you are being honest in all of your dealings. And considering that they have lied to members for the last 30 years of the amount of wealth they've accumulated, but also to the government on how they hid that wealth, I think there should be a little bit of maybe soul searching and reckoning and repentance. And I think if any of us did that, we would get excommunicated like they did back in the day. Joseph threw out the people who didn't agree with him. So I feel maybe they need to actually read their own book.
There you go. So we've
Right.
included the handbook as
Yes,
a
they
link
do.
in the description. And also, I have it right here now. I like that 00 is the introduction. That's starting at ground zero. It says the handbook has been prepared for use by general and local church leaders to administer the affairs of the church. And
Attorneys.
so, yes, so it's definitely what is missing is a handbook for the Q15.
Yeah.
What else could there be? But Debbie actually harkens back to the day, right? If you can go to the founder, and Joseph Smith sure said a lot positive and negative about a lot of things, but certainly I remember hearing a lot of things like, even the glory of God as an intelligence meant that the smarter you got on earth, that was going to benefit you in heaven. And now with what's it called, the correlation, it seems like the lessons we're getting less and less smart, we'll say. So,
Well, if you see
Watered
that word
down.
green doctrinal foundation, I don't even think they know what their doctrine or their foundation is, because it is ever changing. As far as like the church that we grew up in the 70s or the 80s, it's definitely different from the other generations and the other generations, to the point that I don't even think my grandparents would recognize what this church has become. And they were faithful Latter-day Saints, So
yeah, and what would you say Jesus' overarching message was?
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor. Love
All
God,
about
your
love.
neighbor, and yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
and that he was light and truth, and that the most important thing was just to accept light and truth, not to have this foundation. Like if you look at the primary song, the wise man built his house upon a rock, or the foolish man built his house upon sand. At this point, I feel like the whole foundation of the church, regardless if at one point it was good or right or did good for communities or families or people and brought people together, it feels like it's become extra sandy, and extra weak, because they have no backbone and are really turning into more of a corporation instead of a religion like it was founded. And if this is the only true church, the restored miracle of the Americas, the great thing that happened in this lifetime, and whatever, it doesn't hold water, and I don't think it can stand. So
I think
That's
that
my-
makes perfect sense. I really do, Miss.
That's about as clear as mud.
Mhm. Very muddy, you're right, Tim.
Very muddy.
What's the purpose of the church? I love how they have to tell the members what the purpose is, because I think if you were a true follower of Christ, you would feel that purpose burning in your heart. Like, I want to do good. I want to serve people. I want to make this place a better world. I want to, be a better neighbor and friend and family member. Like, you would kind of already be intuitive. So I'm curious to see if this is intuitive or just really bad messaging. So
Yeah,
what's
like
it say?
it should be like the very best self-improvement organization on earth, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's God's true church. and the only one, by the way,
Only one.
the only true church upon the face of the earth in all of the denominations and all of the nations and countries who have different beliefs. We, the Mormons, we're the only ones with the truth. Well, that's what I was taught.
Yeah, and even through millennial of time, like regardless of when Christ walked on the earth, he didn't restore all of this stuff because we weren't ready as a people. And now here we are, this blessed generation who gets to have this miraculous experience of being born in this time to see this truthfulness unveiled. So that's pretty powerful claims, like to say, this is the best of the best through all history as far as what God wanted and the purpose of Christ and the message. So.
I would love to learn about the Church of Jesus Christ that is supposedly restored on the earth. Did they have temple ceremonies? Did they have baptisms for the dead? I know that there are some scriptures that refer to why then must we be baptized for the dead. There's like one sentence in all of the Bible. But where did they meet, this Church of Jesus Christ? And
there never was a church.
That's right.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
No temples.
And when they did start to meet, they met in people's houses.
And how can you restore something that never really existed? What existed was Christ's love, and people followed him because they felt his love.
Right.
And I don't think they had to confess to him every time they did something wrong.
Now, what did he say? Go thy way and sin no more.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be about love and forgiveness. Look, are you available yet?
I think that's very profound. I think that's absolutely right. There was never a church. Jesus didn't die and then build a building.
No.
Yeah.
Well, everything was oral histories too. It was all oral histories, and people were told orally because most people couldn't read or didn't know how to write. You're writing on clay tablets, you're writing a papyrus.
And
I think church had an oral history, but they've changed that oral history, which is sad because all those stories that we were raised on of these miraculous things are now unfolding to be complete and utter bullshit. And also because they were never honest about the oral history, or they shunned their own history and wanted to rewrite it.
Well, they ritualized it. It became
it.
mythologized and ritualized.
Yes. Yep.
So.
That's right. I was listening to some other podcast today, and it was a faithful podcast, but he still had some questions about the handbook, actually, because I typed in a YouTube search on the General Handbook, and there were a couple of podcasts about it, right? And he was saying, he says, and this is to prepare the world for Jesus' second coming, which I think is going to be soon. Now, he recorded it like 5 months ago or something, so I wasn't able to, wasn't alive or anything.
Get
and
ready.
So I was able to ask him,
watch him.
What does soon mean, right?
Watch him ramp that up this weekend. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming.
That's right. Hi, Megan.
Hey, Megan. There she is.
Megan.
How's it going?
Good.
I just wanted to drop in and say hello. I'm not going to stay long, but I wanted to say hi. I was in court all day long, and then I just finished my 2-hour live stream, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. So
go eat.
I just want to say hi because I miss you guys, and I wish I could hang out and talk, but I'm super exhausted.
We understand. You're going to have a rough month.
Every party has a pooper. That's why we invited you.
Exactly. Guys, I decided, though, I'm going to go through the process and get rebaptized.
Yep. I was born at night.
Me too. Me
but it
too.
wasn't last night.
Me too.
Especially if,
April Fools.
that's right. But especially if women get to pass a sacrament after next week. Wouldn't that be
That's
enough
right.
to bring you back?
No, it would not, because then I would still have less authority than a 13-year-old boy. So
That's right. Plus, you passed the sacrament every time you went to church, right?
I did. I passed it every time to the person next to me in the row.
That's right.
Down
And
the
made
road.
sure they had the gray piece of bread, not you.
Yeah, but
Not me.
from those teachers that prepared it, having scratched themselves all over. And
Oh yeah, that's one thing. That reminds me of one thing real quick is the teachers would sometimes, put everything out, right? And so we would try to save some bread sometimes, knowing that last week we had like 100 pieces too many. And so we would do 1.5 pieces per tray, which means the teacher had to start the process. And I wondered if wow, I'm doing some of the priest's job right now by tearing this bread in half so they can start the process.
Oh wow!
Unrighteous dominion. You overstepped your calling.
And if you eat it, you'll turn to a pillar of salt.
That's right.
I have a
All right,
question.
guys.
We'll
I love
see you,
you.
Bye
Megan.
bye.
good
Take
to see
care.
you,
See
Megan.
you next time. Take care.
Bye.
I'll be watching you. Take care.
I have a question. So at the end of sacrament, after the boys pass it and sacrament meeting is over, what do they do with the extra bread and water that may
We-
not have been consumed? So
Well,
get thrown, or
We
what?
would
Stuff it in
dump
your
the
mouth.
water down the sink, and we would eat the bread. That's what we used to do.
Oh yeah,
You
we'd
just-
eat the hell out of that bread.
Yeah,
Take the bread and mush it up into a ball and eat it. I remember
Yeah,
doing
buddy.
that.
a gray ball.
Even if it was gray.
Catholics right now are in shock and in awe of that statement, because for them, they believe that it is the true blood and body of Christ. Once it has been blessed, it is the true Eucharist. And they will even keep a light on if the Eucharist is in the house, meaning the spirit or the presence of the sacrament. And even at the end of when you drink from the cup, if there's any left over, the deacon who is blessed it or the priest will finish off the last remnants so that it doesn't get desecrated. So to just say, this is the body and the blood of Christ, and then we just throw them down the sink or out the trash or mush them up in a ball, that I never thought of that. But now knowing what Catholics do as far as how they hold that so sacred, that's kind of shocking that they're just like,
I like Scott's use of the bread. Used to feed the bread to the birds.
To the birds, or
Dumped it out
dump
the
it out
window.
the window. I had a companion whose father believed that when they blessed the water, it turned to little crosses. He was Catholic, of course. And I said, well, what did he think about the bread? And he says, I never asked him that, but his dad believed that the water turned to little crosses.
Our ward, the bishop required women to make the bread. Yeah, and the
All the-
bed. I say women, they were specifically assigned to make homemade bread for the sacrament. And we're going to throw that out the window? I
No
don't
way.
think so.
No way. It's homemade, man.
Yep.
But also, it takes at least 4 to 6 hours to make bread. So that is a labor intense of love right there.
And you got to make it, and then you
Yeah.
cover it and let it rise during the night, and then put it into the pans and cook it. Yeah, 4 or 5 hours.
You've got to pit it.
I think I had
pat
a
it.
vision that Rusty Nelson was going to allow women to make donuts for sacrament bread as a win-win for everybody.
I might re-establish myself in the church if they did that, depending on the brand of donuts.
Well, you can go to
It'll be
most
homemade brand.
any denominational church or Catholic church. And the best part is they always have coffee and donuts either before or after. It's a social gathering. It's so great. I wish I wish Mormons would have got on board with that factor of like, you're going to be here 3 hours. Let's caffeinate you before you go and do 2 more.
Apparently, they are starting to do some kind of meet and greet before or after church, from what I've heard. But I don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They
that's
just
what
bring a big pot of Sodalicious.
I don't know. I just read about it the other day on Facebook somewhere. I thought, wait a minute. Are you telling me that they're actually doing coffee clutch without the coffee?
Well, that must mean their buildings aren't getting full to capacity, because before, remember, like if you had 11 o'clock sacrament meeting, you were basically waiting. If that other sacrament went long, like, all right, wrap it up. We're done. The next one's coming in. It was like cattle call.
Yeah.
We were the last ward in the building in Memphis, Tennessee, and they had a potluck after church on fast Sundays.
Oh,
And
that's
what
nice.
was horrible was it would be in the oven cooking and stuff during fast Sunday, and it would just, saliva would just be pouring down our shirts.
Oh,
But
man.
that was kind of fun. I thought that was progressive anyway.
Yeah. They used to do that in the singles ward, because the singles ward was usually the last ward that would meet. And so afterwards, they would always do like a family meal or something like that, potluck. And that was always fun for singles, because you got to really get to know people in a different environment than just brother so-and-so, it was a little more fun.
Yeah, we used to do that too in our singles ward. We used to go to somebody's house and break fast. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, that was brilliant, Randy.
That was brilliant.
Best.
Michelle wanted to emphasize that we should, I don't know, take Randy out for some bread breaking someday.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we could have our mock sacrament and use whatever we want for bread.
I mean, it's funny that bread breaking is a thing.
Tortilla chips.
That's right.
Yeah,
Triscuit.
with salsa.
Yeah.
The salsa could be like the blood. Forget
Yeah.
Exactly.
the wine or the water.
Yeah.
And instead of water, how about bean dip? Huh? What?
What?
Bean dip.
Bean dip.
Have you ever
Sure.
bean dip?
There's going to be lightning coming down and striking me tonight. I just feel
No, I'm not sending it your way.
Jean, did you read through the whole new handbook that is now
No.
in
I asked
circulation?
AI to read it, and AI said, "Forget you," or something to that effect.
Says I don't get paid enough for this. Okay.
AI said,
I would-
"Yeah, I can't make heads or tails of
Well, I'm wondering if in the
myself." Is
new
what AI said.
What do
new
you wonder?
book, if there's instructions now that have changed because of all the sex abuse scandals that the church has faced and the McCurtain donkey, if they've kind of now said in that handbook, you need to report this to authorities. Like if you find out that someone is being abused, either physically or sexually in your congregation, and he's either the victim or the perpetrator, that this is the procedure, or is it still follow the spirit and call the attorneys kind of?
I was
Right.
looking for that actually, Debbie. I'm looking through it, and it's
Here's the principles of leadership in the church, and not one of the sections say you should essay the children in your ward, which is weird.
Yeah, you definitely think some people got that page in their book because it seems to be a problem. This is really weak sauce.
Well, and so much of it is common sense. That's what blows me
Right.
away.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying is that like it really isn't an instruction of like leadership and You know, because like if you worked for a corporation and you've looked through a policy and procedure book of that company, there's usually definite guidelines and expectations and policy and procedure. And if this happens, this is what you do. Or if this is the situation, this is what you do. This is appropriate behavior. This is absolutely inappropriate behavior for a corporation. So I'm surprised there's not really, like, there's nothing about men shouldn't be asking 12-year-olds if they masturbate in there. That's not appropriate.
Right?
I don't see that. I don't see it.
I'm looking. I saw something, but I can't remember what it was.
It's funny that it's like this 9.3 says Relief Society leaders, and the first thing is bishop.
Right. I think for Relief Society leaders, it's bring candy to every lesson so women will feel happy at the end of the lesson. Because it seems like Relief Society always gave out candy. And
Calling a Relief Society presidency. The bishop calls a woman to serve as the Ward Relief Society president. If the unit is large enough, she recommends to him 1 or 2 women to serve as their counselors. So have you ever been in a small enough congregation where there's only 1 counselor or no counselors to the Relief Society president?
Have you ever asked a bishop if his unit was big enough?
That's right. How big is your unit, bishop?
You know.
What if he has a really big unit? I mean, yeah.
Small units may not have a young women's or primary president.
But I'm just kidding.
That's right. I would have never, if I was bishop, I would have never had a young women's or Relief Society president.
Okay, I found something under abuse. It says, see, protecting children of the Church of Jesus Christ. So it refers you to something else out of the handbook. Oh, and it says the abuse helpline. Okay, let's see.
Church of Korahor's in the audience.
They still love that attorney-client privilege excuse. I see it.
Does the Church of Korahor have a handbook of general instructions yet? That's what I want to know. I had AI write a song for the Church of Korahor. I don't know if he's ever going to use it.
I think Church of Korahor's book of instructions is "Don't be an asshole."
Okay, it says to call the number first.
Are you kidding me? That's in their general handbook.
Yeah, bishops and stake presidents should call the helpline when addressing situations involving any type of abuse. Legal and clinical professionals will answer their questions. These professionals will also give instructions.
That's a huge liability, because what about states that have mandatory reporting? If that got back and got reported to the police and the ecclesiastical member didn't report it and know about it, you end up with that case where they're now going after like the stake president who,
they have immunity. You have immunity as a ecclesiastical leader.
Well, some states have passed mandatory reporting laws for ecclesiastical leaders.
Correct.
I think Utah just did something.
Yeah, they're going to do something.
After they said they couldn't.
Every time I've seen it come up on a bill, two people, the church is the one fighting it. Like, oh, no, it's sacred. Like, it's an accountant down the street. He's only here for 4 years. Like, what are you talking about?
The church is committed to complying with the law and reporting abuse. Laws differ by location, and most church leaders are not legal experts. Calling the helpline is essential for bishops and stake presidents to fulfill their responsibilities to report abuse.
I don't think you should be in a position of authority to handle that kind of like either confession or responsibility if you are not familiar with the laws of your state. And I'm just going to say that point blank because that's just damn common sense.
The bishop and the stake president supposed to encourage the member to turn themselves into law enforcement.
Oh, come on.
So it says.
Yeah, that's like
if a member's abuse activities have violated applicable law, The bishop or stake president should urge the member to report these activities to law enforcement personnel or other appropriate government authorities.
Urge the member, like, yeah, like if I go rob a bank, I'm going to feel guilty after spending $10 and go, you know what? Hey guys, I know I just robbed this bank and I know I'm going to go and spend, so many years in jail and screw my life and family up. But here I am. No one's no,
They're not going to. It's like saying that if the chapel's on fire, let's go through the proper rungs of the ladder of authority before we call the fire department. No, they don't
Right?
want the property damaged. They want to get the fire department there immediately. Well, it should be more important to get the child or wife out of an abusive situation
Yes.
instead of
agree.
waiting for them to figure out how can we handle this without the church being incriminated.
That's a great analogy. I love that. Because you're right. If the building was on fire, they wouldn't call Curtin and McConkey.
No, they call the fire department.
Right.
Minimize the damage.
Church leaders and members should fulfill all legal obligations to report abuse to authorities. In some locations, leaders and teachers who often work with children and youth are considered mandated reporters and must report abuse to legal authorities. Similarly, in many locations, any person who learns of abuse is required to report it to legal authorities. Bishop and stake president should call the helpline for details about mandated reporters and other legal requirements for reporting abuse. The church's policy is to obey the law. Now, in Hesperia, the stake president was also the police chief of Victorville. So is that a conflict of interest or what?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
and I know I told him things he should have taken action on, and he didn't. That people were breaking the law. Yeah.
That is absolutely shocking. Well, and I had a very good friend. She is a good friend. Her husband beats the shit out of her and probably still does to this day because he's done it their whole marriage. And she's tried to get out, but they have like 6 kids and, da, 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 da. And she's gone to the bishop and said, this is the problem because they'd separated for a while. And of course, then the bishop calls him in and wants to know, like, what can we do to help? And she's like, he's physically and verbally abusive. They didn't do anything. And like nothing, no resources, no therapy, no holding him accountable. He's still going and cleaning the temple every month because he's doing his good job. She eventually left the church, but like that is not right. I think that's why there's so many problems in the church with abuse, either physical or sexual, is because
the men hold the priesthood, Deb. The men hold the priesthood, so let's not put too much pressure on them.
The bishop's supposed to tell the stake president if there's any abuse. So it goes up the chain. So the first thing he's supposed to do is call the helpline, and then he lets the stake president know. So they all keep it all internal and tell the member, go report it to the cops. Go turn yourself in. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. What does it say about tithing in that handbook, Gene? Does it say what you can give 10% before taxes, after tax?
Our purpose here is to channel Jesus. What would Jesus tell the Q15?
Oh, that's right. We're not supposed to be dissecting this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but certainly we can look every now and then. But what would be a good rule of thumb? Would it be good for the church to like give out like a tithe of all the tithes that they get to make sure it gets to the needy? Would it be a good idea to have the church give away 1% of its holdings each year, which would be what, another $1.5 billion or $3 billion?
Or how about a hell of a lot more than that? Because since when do churches need money to be successful? I'm pretty sure that we were taught that it's as difficult for a camel to get through the eye of a needle as it is for a rich
Yeah.
man to get into heaven.
Oh, ye of little faith, give it all away. God will bless you and replenish your stores, right?
Well, yeah, because what we were taught was for every dollar you give, you'll receive $10 back.
And I remember like not giving to poor people, like bums will say, or beggars, thinking, oh, my church is taking care of you somehow because I'm giving a lot of money, right? I don't know how much a year it takes for a ward of 500 people, per each to keep the building going. But so anyhow,
I found the answer, Debbie.
Okay.
Tithing is the donation of 1/10 of one's income to God's church. Doctrine and Covenants 119, 3 and 4. Interest is understood to mean income. All members who have income should pay tithing.
On the gross amount, right?
It doesn't say that. It just says income.
yeah. So they've backed off on describing what that really is, even though if we go by what historically tithing was, people would pay tithing on their increase because everybody had a business, right? They had a farm, they had whatever. And your increase, if you had 20 chickens and the next year you had 40 chickens, you paid 2 chickens, right, to the bishop's storehouse because your increase was 20 chickens and a tithe would have been 2 of those. And so,
Well, I would say this if I were Jesus. I'm going to channel him right now. Tithing is a sacrifice because we don't do blood sacrifices in the Old Testament method of as far as showing thanks. So if you have excess, that giving away to those who are less in need is showing gratitude to God or a higher being of your blessings or of your abundance. And so there's no need for anyone to stockpile this abundance. Everything that goes in should go out because there are still many starving people all over the world who lack food, who lack clean water, who lack resources for a better life, education, proper housing. And if I were Jesus Christ, I'd be throwing over every table in that church because they're hoarding wealth and they're doing nothing good. Giving away a stipend is not what tithing is. Tithing is a tribute and basically saying thank you for what I've been blessed with. And however you want to donate that tithing, if you see someone in need or you have a widowed family or people in your area who are struggling, and if you are the person who's blessed with more, you reciprocate the blessing of what you've been given by giving it to someone else. And so I think the church needs to really relook at the Old Testament version of what tithing was, the definition, and what the purpose was for tithing was
originally,
because tithing really is saying, thank you so much for what I've been given. I have excess. Let me give now back to those who have not been given as much, right? And
right. And
I don't think it's up to
I
a
think
church.
Jana Reese wrote an article a few years back. Jana Reese wrote an article a few years back saying because the church had so much money, she was going to give her tithing money to local charities. And I think that would be good for the Q15 handbook. Is like,
Yeah.
Hey, guys, Randy could put it in scripture form and say, thou shalt allow members to donate to local charities to help their communities. What would be wrong with
That
that?
would make a whole lot more sense than putting it into these 11, $25 million temples. I just, for the life of me, can't understand why it requires a Taj Mahal like temple to be sacred inside. Because I'm trying to think of how many temples the Church of Jesus Christ had, and none are coming to mind.
It's an investment.
0 times 0.
Not a one.
The temple is an investment.
I think it's a poor investment
Sure it is.
because, like it's like a church building. They're selling off church buildings now, and I look forward to the day when they finally have to sell a temple, because then we know that it was a victory for Satan, or actually there was a victory for God, because this church is not of God and is not practicing what Jesus said. Because if I were Jesus, I'd be like, you could do so much good in the world with that much money. And especially if people had the opportunity to give back to their local community, they could actually help their own communities within. And to ask people who have nothing to give 10% is just criminal. Just criminal.
That's right.
Right.
Songs, if you want to come on the show and give your 2 cents about what good changes or additions for a Q15 church handbook. How about,
There's Rob.
I'll protect you. You guys don't need bodyguards anymore.
Hi, Rob.
I'm sure he has something fabulous to add to this.
I have several suggestions for the handbook for the Q15. Number one, I'd like them to explain the rules for when members are supposed to stand up and when they are allowed to sit when an apostle enters the room. It's very confusing. Number two, I'd like them to publicly disclose their personal earnings from merch sales and book sales of their talks at Deseret Book. That would only be fair.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I'd like them to publish a chart of stipends paid out and the offices that receive them.
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor? Can we show by a raise of the hand?
I'd like them to publish not names, but statistics on the second anointing. How many minorities? How many women? What are the income brackets? You don't have to give names. Just let us know who's getting this golden ticket.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a minute to think. I had a couple more. I typed them into the chat. I guess they got lost or something when I got knocked off the internet. But here's another thing. No more absentee secret excommunications, like the one they did on what's that guy? Joseph Smith's protege, Tim Ballard. Yeah. I'm not against him being excommunicated, but doing it secretly without, involving the proper, it's just not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they used to publish excommunications in the church news. It stopped in the 70s. Yeah, they used to publish people who are excommunicated in the church news.
Yeah.
Talk about public shunning. Jeez.
Well, we used to get in Priesthood Bulletin, you used to get a notice about people who were going around scamming the church, too. There used to be a picture of somebody, and watch out for this guy. He may be in your area, and he's scamming the church.
We need to bring that back. Bring that back to Utah, actually.
Yes.
That would be a good thing, because there's so many scammers out there taking advantage of members. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another idea I have.
The opposite of a scammer is Exmo Joe.
Hey,
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah.
Keep on
I
talking, Rob.
I would like the handbook to include them listing who has received money for signing a non-disclosure agreement. We don't have to know how much money or what the agreement says, but if there are church employees or priesthood leaders that have received money in exchange for signing an NDA, I think we have a right to know about that.
Hell yeah.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I'd
I'm
love
on
to hear
board
some of
with you,
Joe's
cuz,
ideas.
you know, I just wanted to get on to say, I don't know how many of you know, I those of you who think I don't look like myself, I rage broke my glasses. I'm shopping for new arms for my glasses right now. So can't see any of you, but hello. I don't know how many. I don't
We
know
look
how many of
pretty
you
dang
know.
good.
Oh, thank you. It's these beautiful hazel eyes I've got.
So it looks like you've lost weight, maybe like 2.8 ounces worth.
Yeah. No, ironically, no, when I have my glasses off, I look even fatter because it draws attention to how pear-shaped my face is. But I'm cool with it. It's fine. I accept myself the way that I am. Shit on a stick. So, but I don't know how many of you know, but Corey, our friend Corey, got on I don't know where, I think Ancestry.com, and found out that Rob Tobler and I are confirmed kissing cousins. So I am here to collect.
Wow.
Secret.
Oh my!
That's don't back
What
out.
level?
We said no backsies. We said no backsies. Just do
Seventh
it.
cousins or sixth cousins or fifth cousins or what?
We're third cousins, me and Rob Tobler.
Third.
Wow.
That is pretty good.
Yeah,
I
we are
went to
close.
the Cove Fort in central Utah. I
Mhm.
Mhm.
don't know if anybody's been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
President Hinckley's grandpa apparently was given a mission by Brigham Young to go could do a fort there, and whoever the
Right.
tour guide was, I said, "Hey, do you have family search?" And so we checked, and we were 11th cousins.
You and
So
the big
I got in
Hinks?
free.
Oh, nice.
Wait, they charge
You-
money to go in there? No, they don't charge money.
I'm just teasing.
It used to be a
Surprise,
tourist attraction. It used to be a tourist attraction, and then it was shut down for a few years. And then when Hinckley became prophet, I think, or somebody, they bought it back and they rejuvenated it.
There are six couples. Haywire, it could be my internet. I don't know what, but there are 6 couples that are have missions there, and they each have like a double wide across the street from Cove Fort.
Okay.
And I was there in March 25th or something, and there were 3 or 4 groups of 8 or 9 people at different stages of the tour. So it must get really busy during the summer.
Yeah.
I know.
I have another.
Okay, Rob has another one.
I've got another idea for the handbook for general authorities. I think they need to disclose to members if they personally are operating under revelations which have yet to be published. Because for all we know, right now they are practicing polygamy like Joseph Smith and Brigham Young and others were, and it would be decades before they would finally admit it and canonize it. You know, I mean, for all we know, President Nelson is going to the temple and sealing himself to celebrities like Marilyn Monroe, the way Wilford Woodruff did to hundreds and hundreds of women. I just think we ought to have the right to know if they're operating by a different set of rules.
I agree.
We already know they are, Rob.
That's right. That's why, and we're making another set of rules for them to
We
obey.
already know that they're operating on a. We already know that it's do as I say, not as I do. I mean,
I
come
think
on.
the church has done a big change since Joseph Smith's time. Instead of doing polygamy, they now do money in secret.
Yeah, you guys saw that they apparently have a new table that the church has released. What drinks are considered breaking the word of wisdom?
What?
Know about this?
What?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it yet, but I saw an article somebody posted about it. They have a table of like safe and like recommended drinks. Then they have using with caution, and then they have straight up ungodly sin. Shame on you for not thinking celestial. And on the safe category, they have non-caffeinated root beer is on the good side. It's on the virtuous side. So their Barks is out. I think A&W is out, isn't it? Isn't A&W doesn't A&W have
It
have
depends on
caffeine?
it depends on where it's bottled. Some does
Okay.
and some don't.
So
You have to
it's like,
check.
but then in the use with caution is energy drinks with less than 200 milligrams of caffeine, which and on the bad side is energy drinks with more than 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm like, okay, so I drink every morning a 16-ounce Red Bull, or if I want to come down on my caffeine, I get a cup of coffee. that's where it is. It's like when I'm weaning off of the caffeine, I step down from the 16 ounce of Red Bull and step down to coffee. So it's like
Wow.
it's wild to me what's going on right now.
They actually
What?
have a beverage? Oh my goodness.
Oh, well, now time out, guys. I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but that is a April Fool's article that came out.
It
I
is.
think it is. I think it is.
Oh gosh, are you kidding me?
It came out today.
I read it
Well,
first
bold
thing this
man.
morning.
I
Fooled
saw.
me, man.
I read
Whoever
it
did
first thing
that's
this
very
morning. I'm
clever.
like,
That's the best one I've seen so far.
Oh my
Yeah.
But it's
gosh.
on LDS Daily? Is that
Yes.
really April Fool's? Are they
that's
making fun of themselves?
That's funny. It's LDS Daily, right?
yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Yeah, I was
parody.
reading. They got me. Good job, you guys. You got me. I didn't even think. I don't even think about April Fools. That's pretty funny, actually. I have to hand it to them.
The way it was worded was very clever, and they made it sound like something coming straight down from the prophet.
But the thing is, it's so you could so see this group doing that. That's what's so funny about that. I mean, aside
Right.
from the fact that this church, that this current leadership, I mean, basically they're trying to appear like they're trying to keep the membership coming in, but they don't care. They don't need your tithing money. They got the real money. They're done. They're done with followers. They don't care.
You're absolutely right. They could have everyone leave this church, and with the land holdings and the stock that they owned, they'd walk
Oh.
away and just become a corporation.
They'd
Just
never.
to let you know,
they'd
here's
never
another
feel the
article. If I can close this thing. Church launches sacrament seating reservation system.
Oh, that one's clearly a lie.
Temple cafeterias returning with Chick-fil-A partnership.
Oh my gosh. I would believe that. I don't know what it is about Utah and Chick-fil-A, but it is almost.
But you know they're going to have to.
Well, it's because
They're going to have to be open on Sunday for the second anointings.
Right.
Oh.
That's right.
And that'd probably be the only thing.
The Chick-fil-A are homophobes, so they're pushing party line.
They are.
Here's another article. Primary children to speak in general conference this weekend. They should have like the parent behind them.
Right?
Yeah.
Picture saying what to say.
My mom and dad.
My brothers and sisters.
They would all speak in a primary voice too.
These are sensational.
That's
Better than
great.
that.
Well, here's one that may not be a hoax. Well, and no, it certainly is a hoax, but it's not April Fool's because it was from a week or two ago. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Chief Mitiga, David Taylor, posted and then pulled a video where he announced that the Church of Christ has nominated him to be their new president, and Mitiga is the new president of the Church of Christ. And I was forwarded this by Stephen Pinecker, and then after that, I'm like, which church? Wait, I thought he was baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ, not the Church of Christ. Because I don't know if you know, but the Church of Christ, right? There are a bunch of restoration branches mainly. There's one that you probably know of. That's the Temple Lot, quote unquote, right? They claim to be the original. Everybody's the original church, right? But they claim to be the original church. And then there are a bunch of independent branches that have, all over, that all claim to be the Church of Christ. And so I said, so wait, so is it the Temple Lot or is it another church? I mean, the Temple Lot throwing in with Mitiga, that's dumb, but there's so few of them. I don't know, could be. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And then he pulled it. So we don't know if this is real or who he talked to, but it was after they did this Birch Scroll
So it could have been
release thing.
It could have been April 1st. April Fool's thing.
Like
it would have been better if he said he was
2 weeks early,
nominated to be president of the Jesus H. Christ Church.
we definitely need to start that one. I bet there already
she is.
Songs?
Hello, Songs.
Hey, it's Songs.
Hi, Songs.
Hi, Songs.
So great to see your lovely face.
Thank you. Great to see your lovely faces.
And I freaking love the color of your hair.
Thank you.
That's my favorite all-time color, is that green, blue, whatever that color is. That looks awesome.
Thank you. I changed it because we went to GalaxyCon over the weekend, so had to do new hair.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
I got to meet Sid Croft.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
cool.
Wow.
The one who did HR Puff and stuff and produced all these old TV shows. He's in a wheelchair, but he is
Jesus
kicking.
HR Puff and stuff.
Yeah, Jesus HR Puff and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, Sid and Marty Croft was my life as a
Yeah, that's what
on
we
Saturday
basically told him. He was just really awesome. He's in a wheelchair, but his brain is working great, and he's talking to people. It was amazing.
That's
That's
awesome.
ironic.
I'm going to get a better look at your hair.
Fabulous.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
Now we're going to get 20 more subscribers all because of your hair.
Oh wow. Okay. I also met Daphne Rubin Vega from Rent and Has Been
cool.
Hotel and a bunch of other stuff. So that was really cool too. So
Dang, man, you're getting around, getting those meet and greets. That's cool, man.
it was random. My son loves this anime show, and so the voice actors from the anime show were there. So I try to take him to this every year because it's his world. He dresses up in a costume every day, and people go up and take his picture, and it's just like a way to get him kind of out there in his world. And then there's always some older actors who I know from my time, or older people, so I always enjoy it as well. So but yeah.
Do you want to add anything now to the handbook songs?
Yeah. So what do you guys think? What do you think of like a term limit?
Oh my God.
The top 15. And an age limit, like maybe, we don't have so many people that get to 100, maybe like top it out at like maybe 70 or 65.
That's a great one.
I've always said
it.
that if I had stayed and become the prophet, which surely that was the path I was on, I would create an apostle emeritus status and invite every apostle from the age of 65 to seriously consider that it's time for them to retire, and just let them retire, let them get their pay, let them get their benefits, let them, retire in style and, have the comforts of any other career that you would expect from a professional career, and let them enjoy their golden years.
Spend time with your grandkids.
Right.
Yeah.
Go batty as you are entitled to go batty in the comfort of your own home and not in the public eye and for everybody to poke fun at and to show that you are making batty decisions because you're an old coot. That's I mean, that's at some point it's abuse. It's elder abuse. It feels like to me, like what's happening with President Nosferatu. It feels like elder abuse to me. But then I feel that way
Yes,
about the president.
It's like what they did to Monson too. When you saw Monson at the end, it was almost like them wheeling out the corpse for everyone to worship.
I can't wait 10 years from now when Russell Nelson finally passes.
Oh, Jesus. 10 years from now? Can
10
you
years.
imagine? Holy shit.
They'll have to embalm him before he even dies to keep him around 10 years.
My dad just went under the knife again to have some stents that were placed in. They like put stents in like every part of his heart a few years ago when he qualified for Medicaid or for Medicare, and they found that some of them are failing, so they went in and replaced them this last week, and he's doing fine. And I asked him, I said, and he called me the night before. This is our running tradition, and I'm like, the deal, right? And he's like, yes. If I die and go to hell and come back to let you know whether or not George Carlin is in hell. Yes, I know. So I'm like, that's all I'm saying. And last time he called me like practically from the operating table. My mom's like, you talk to your father. He's not supposed to be on the phone, but he won't let anybody. He has to talk to you. And just like, so say hello to your father. George Carlin is in hell. I'm like, yes, that's how I know that's where I belong. And so, yeah, so that's our running thing. So I said, okay, so, I love you. Thank you for being my dad. He's like, yep. He's not a man of much emotional communications, but, that's what this call was for, right? And I said, I love you. Thank you for being my dad. I said, and he's like, do you have any questions for me? And I said, why? Why? I mean, what are you hoping to stick around to see, man? I mean, you saw Donald Trump get elected twice. What else did you want in life? I'm like, but whatever, do your thing. Me personally, no. I have no interest in seeing 80 years old or 100 years old. Good God, what's wrong with you people?
Right.
So,
that's sweet, though.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw this out.
So you're for the decriminalization of Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. Not quite, but yeah, I have some other ideas. No, but I was thinking, if the church is going to, if the 15 are going to speak for God, we have some basics that could get covered, like what time is siesta? And what is officially breakfast foods and not breakfast foods? I mean, if we're going to fight a war, fight about that, It's like, oh, sausage is not a breakfast food. Fuck, it isn't, right? Let's fight about that.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Stuff
right.
like that.
Is a hot dog a sandwich, right? That's a good one. Is a taco a sandwich? Or is a taco... is a taco a pizza, or is pizza a pie? That's another one. Or I got into it with one of my partners once. I said, look, pizza is a bread, and he's like, I bake. He's like, pizza is a pie.
Here's how you implement the age thing, Joe. Is you tell all the general authorities that once you hit 70, if you can become emeritus and still get your pay, or we stop your pay.
Right.
So you can, if you want the placard and the praise from everybody, you don't get any more money for it.
I think if you implemented, like if you had like a cage match at the end of General Conference, and then it's just like if all of the apostles who want to stay, you gotta go throw them in, like get out some brackets, and then just throw them in the ring.
Mormon MMA,
right?
Mixed Mormon arts.
It's like, the police are here. Hold the police back. We're almost done in here.
Or like any corporation, you can vote him out as a board member and take him out. Like I think we should be able to like have more leniency to vote some of these people out and be like, no, we want new leadership. You're headed in the wrong direction.
I know if you think about it, when Joseph Smith was president, and Tim, you were there, I think the average age of the apostles was only like 40.
Right.
No,
Oh, if
30.
that. It was younger than that. Yeah.
30 and 40. Yes.
Yeah, wasn't
30.
Joseph Young was one of the first ones, wasn't he? And Brigham Young's brother, and he was a baby. I'm gonna find this out.
What were you gonna say, Randy?
Speaking
I
of the
was gonna-
Youngs, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, as long as we're throwing out ideas, one of the things I hated most about getting ready for church was getting all my kids in their suits and the girls in the dresses and finding socks that matched and me having to get in a suit. I say we dress like Christ dressed. A nice toga, some sandals, let our hair grow. If he did it, why can't we? Why do we have to wear the
Exactly.
stuffy shirts and ties and all that garbage?
Speaking of kids and tithing, if you don't bring your kids, you get to pay only 5% tithing.
You
That's
get a
what I say.
discount.
Leave your kids at home. A financial discount.
Show up as you are. Let them come in their play clothes so that afterwards you go home and you play. What is all this suit crap?
Grooming future corporate American CEOs for the church. Hello.
It was a love affair with IBM in the 50s and 60s.
All right, what about add some women? If we're going to change the rules, where's the women in the,
Now you're
215?
talking.
Now, women are bishops, or if are a bishop and one of his counselors is a woman.
Do you know why? Do you know why?
I
male
hate
police? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No.
No, I was just going to say, having been a cop, you know why men cops can't stand to have women on the force?
Why?
It's because they make better cops. They can shoot straighter. This is scientifically
It's
proven.
true. It's
A
true.
woman has a steadier grip. She has a better aim. They make better cops than men, and men are intimidated by them. And I think that's just like the church. I think most men, if they were honest, would admit that so many of these women would be such better leaders than their clunky husbands are.
True.
I agree with that. Well, look at what they did with even Relief Society. They built up, when they were autonomous and had control of their own finances, they were basically the war chest for like World War I, that the church sold all of that wheat and grain and food storage for profit. But those women were industrious. They got things done for sure.
Right.
I'm all in favor of that one.
Okay.
You know,
Well, then let's make it law.
I love it.
Okay.
Vote it in.
Okay.
I have a joke
think,
that I'll stay offline maybe. I don't know. My thought as I was trying to reconstruct what I believed in, and I was starting to get, liberal, and I was thinking, there's nothing wrong with adult workers, right? Sex workers work, right?
Right.
And then I thought, the Relief Society president should actually be a sex worker because, to give relief to the Elders Quorum president or whatever, or people that are having a hard time.
More on Quorum than it was back in the day.
Songs didn't like that one. Well, I don't know.
I'm so glad you
disappeared.
told that.
You're officially chasing away the talent. Sorry.
Oh, we're still alive.
Where did you chased songs away?
Well, I hope she comes again because it was just a joke. There she is. I'll bring her back. Maybe the internet's happening.
Oops.
Something's happening with the internet.
Sorry, I hit a button
I don't
and
know.
got lost again.
I don't like.
Lost at the perfect time. You caught salty.
I heard it.
Okay.
You know.
So
I
who
don't-
wants to tell Hallie Cram what the topic is? The topic is we're not going to clean Tim's living room after the show. That's the topic. But it's-
Forever.
So Hallie,
We're not-
we're talking about what if we were channeling Jesus, what would we come up with for a handbook for the Q15? They have a handbook written for everybody else in the church. What would Jesus want to hand to the Q15?
Okay, Hallie, we're looking for your suggestions. I'm looking in the chat. Come on, Hallie.
Yeah.
You can do it.
And someday we want Hallie to call in. Channeling Jesus for a Q15 handbook. That's what it is.
I don't love to toot my horn here, but I will remind everyone that the Church of Korihor's top leadership, the heraldry, is 50% women.
There you
That's
go.
to say nothing of the fact that there are only 2 heralds of the Church of Korihor. But that statement is nonetheless true. Between myself and Jenny Gage, the 50% of the heralds of the Church of Korihor are women, and that's necessary. It's important, and not because I put all the work off on her. If anything, it's the other way around. It's because in the Church of Korihor, we believe women should lead the way, not just be servants who slave away in working for the wills of men. So that's what I say.
Yeah.
Well,
So
they
say
should really go back to their roots when women could give blessings and lay on hands and have a little more authority,
Something like that might come on in conference where
I
they
could
the
see
thing is,
throw the women a bone.
Yeah,
Like I
Gene, don't say anything about the laying on of hands. You already did your comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, Gene. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of that was Emma. Emma becoming innovative with the church. It's my feeling. Especially when the early experiments with with giving blessings, were the Relief Society presidency. And it's just like, what are we going? What's going to happen? Joseph going to come out and say, "Oh, this is not doing things properly." Oh, really, Mister? I have members of my church going out and recruiting teenagers to marry him. What? Yeah, we do what we want. And it's like, girl power. I like this. I like that Emma Smith sometimes. There are moments. She had her moments, man. My opinion.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
that or the church should bring back like some of their cult practices and weird rituals. I think that would be more fun.
Drawing
Little more
circles
creative,
and sacrificing dogs.
Yeah. Like,
You-
let's go that way. That sounds more fun. Like
Well,
stones and
You missed the Hosanna shout last week, Deb. We all did the Hosanna shout. It doesn't get any cultier than that.
We did.
Well,
That's
I
right.
don't know. I
The
don't know.
Hosanna
They did some
napkin
pretty
shout.
culty things. That second anointing's pretty culty, if you ask me. That's pretty culty.
No.
Well, there you go. So how about for the handbook, I'm channeling Jesus right now. Stop the hell with polygamy, using Randy's language.
Yeah.
Tell people polygamy was never your thing. Stop bragging on you're married to multiple women in heaven.
Well,
But at the same time, also celebrate a mother God. Study world history and talk about how the very first depictions of gods were women.
but don't you want polyandry and polygamy? Both?
Whatever blows
Okay.
your skirt up, that's what I say.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever
I-
floats your boat.
I'm
mean,
just-
properly, it's polyamory. I mean, that's really. I mean, if you're
Polyamory.
doing it in a healthy way,
And
there's
then
no clues.
And overall, church,
Open-
get out of
open
the members'
marriages.
bedrooms
That's right.
and stop interviewing people for worthiness. They're more worthy than the leaders.
Stop asking kids embarrassing questions that they don't know the answer to. And then you have to explain to them because they don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can we
There's
bring
no
back
reason I really need to know
whiskey
anymore.
baths in the temple? That would be more. I would probably go back to the temple if it had cinnamon whiskey bath.
Yeah.
Totally. I'd be
Would
down.
you drink it, Debbie?
I would
No,
drink the
that's
bath water. I would drink the bath water.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
No germs would survive it.
No germs.
I found out only recently.
Satan behind the furniture, like when he comes into the garden, everyone hides. Like, let's make it more LARPy interactive. Like, really role play.
Yeah, I just found out that, and it was not until like 1903 or 1906 or something, that even the Utah church really switched sacrament over to water from wine, and that that they were producing wine down in southern Utah all that time. And
Yeah.
I was like, you find out some things 25 years after you're out of the church.
That's
But
right.
I
Hey,
will say,
Q15, teach real history.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think we should ordain ourselves the Quorum of the Six. Let's
I
take
tell
over.
you, so I mentioned this in the chat. The Church of Korihor, before you can be ordained, you have to pass a background check and be fingerprinted, and you have to be interviewed by the first herald, i.e., this guy, and the official bylaws say removal goes like this: if the first herald says you're out, you're out, no explanations, and if you're a dick, you're out.
I can't even pass
there
a
you
foreground check, much less a
go.
background.
I hereby ordain you head of dad jokes, Gene. You are Cora horrified.
That's right.
Well,
No, but
if they have all that money, the one thing that they should bring back that would be actually that was good were all the pageants and all the like road shows and all the things that used to build like wards and communities. Yeah,
Yes.
like bring back homemaking. I love doing arts and crafts. I was a big fan. Like Super Saturday when you'd go in arts and crafts with the Relief Society and make, Christmas ornaments. Fabulous. I
Yes.
learned so many skills. And I also got to know the women better in the ward than you would sitting in a pew next to them. I think they missed out on all that good stuff because there used to be a lot more fun. Like make the church fun again.
And we need
Yeah.
to do something for the men like that. Get together and do things as men.
Yeah. Well, they used to have like sports leagues. Do they still do Wednesday night basketball in the church?
I don't know.
For Tim and I, that have to do tiddlywinks and
Shuffleboard, maybe?
shuffleboard.
Shuffleboard.
Mormon
You know what?
pickleball would be so hot right now. I'm sorry. It's all the rage. But pickleball?
Pickleball.
They got pickleball leagues. It'd be slamming.
You know, when I was a kid, every Easter, they would have the Easter morning sunrise service. And everyone would bring their blankets and pillows and sit on the lawns of the temple there in Arizona. And the pageant actually took place on the roof of the visitor center. And it was amazing. I mean,
Wow.
it was beautiful. There weren't seats and chairs to set up and everything. Everyone just brought their blankets and their snacks, and they'd sit on the lawns and watch this pageant as the sun rose. And we need to get back to that kind of stuff, Deb, like you were saying.
I agree. Well, the Manti pageant was that way too. You just go out, everyone bring their blankets and, chairs and picnics, and then you'd watch the pageant off the temple. It was probably like even post-Mormon, I did that because I'd never been. And so my friend was like, we're going to go do this. And I'm like, I've never seen it. I want to go. And it was actually a really well done production. They put a lot of talent into it, a lot of time. Like it was superb. It was awesome. But I also think it brought a lot of good things to that small town Manti. I haven't been in Manti in a long time, but at the time it was definitely still a small town. So it helped support those local businesses. and their economy. Like, to lose that was probably a big, like, kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
Finally.
If you guys see this, do you see this over here? This is on LoopNet. This is one of my dirty habits. I love to go to LoopNet and look up religious buildings for sale, and then I just go through all the rooms, and I don the accent of the cult leader inside my head. It's like, welcome to the Church of Korihor. Let's get weird. Y'all go into that room with the little blindfolds. Don't ask no questions. But anyways, you always want to make sure when you find a pretty building like this one in Payson, Utah. It's a religious building. I wonder what kind of religious building it was. It's available for $1.2 million. You download the brochure. And then you go $1.2 million, and you can download the PDF and see, it's got this chapel. It's got a little stage up here. This looks like, don't get me wrong, this is like a baptismal font, I think, maybe. Got your bathrooms
Debbie used to carry that much money in her purse when she just go to the mall.
It's got a nice basketball court. It's got classrooms, little lecterns, and paintings on the wall. Oh, yeah.
Steeple?
Ooh, that's
Does it have
another
a steeple?
Q15 rule.
Does
Q15
have a
rule.
steeple.
You've got $100 billion worth of buildings. Use them to benefit the communities.
Right.
Or donate them back to the community. Like, imagine making that a senior center for seniors.
Right.
That would be cool.
Or in the Church of Korihor, we've been talking about since we launched Rapture 2025 that wouldn't this make a fantastic 24-hour library? And the people who are cold out there might find themselves a book, curl up with a book. Maybe we make a comfortable place for you to sit and read a book all night. Maybe a little cubby that's got like a little door where you can close it for some privacy and read a book all night, since you can't legally turn them into homeless shelters.
Payson on the other side of the mountains.
I was gonna say a great place for unhoused.
From Provo.
Yeah, it's south. It's south of.
Just south of Provo. South of it's like
it's by Nephi.
Just south of what am I thinking of? Spanish Fork.
Springville, Spanish Fork. Yeah,
so it's a little bit far away from Salt Lake. So if you were going to house people there, you'd have to bus them down. But that's not a big deal. Just buy a bus too. We'd probably have to up the monthly contribution to the Church of Korihor from $2 a month to maybe $3 a month. So that's the only reason we haven't done it yet.
And get a couple million more members.
The crazy thing is, Payson is booming right now because it's probably still has a lot of land, whereas like Provo's built out, Springville's being built out, as far as availability. Like, I'm surprised that they're not utilizing that building. That means Mormons aren't moving into that neighborhood. They're moving out.
So is Hallie Cram talking about the chair underneath the stage, the big chairs?
Oh, yeah, we're used to put
chair storage. Yeah.
Yep. Now, but some of these, you want a fun little rabbit hole to go down. You go and find all of the churches. These are all churches for sale, or other specialty buildings. If I take other specialty out, these are churches for sale in America, all across America. They're trying to close their doors because people don't want to go to church anymore. And I'm just saying, you make this deal a little bit sweeter. The Church of Korihor will take it off your hands because we got big plans, and they get bigger. I'm very much convinced that a lot of what the weirdness of weird religions happens at this stage where you start looking at the buildings. You're like, what we could do with this. Especially,
I like the address.
Yeah,
Paseo Boulevard. 7203. Doesn't Paseo mean like a boulevard in Espanol?
Yeah, I guess it kind of does.
It means like the way, the
passage, the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you think about you look at this beautiful building, and in Kansas City, Missouri, $1.3 million, and
that's where Jesus is coming.
That's right. I mean, why wait for Mitiga to build his new church down there? He's talking about building a temple down there in Independence.
Has the church ever in their history bought in like another church's property and converted it or demolished it and used it for a temple lot? Like in this instance, like going to Kansas City instead of, or like in even like Fairview, if there was an old church in Fairview, couldn't they have bought like an existing piece of
They did
property?
it, and they did it recently in Ohio, in Kirtland.
Oh, okay.
They bought the temple from the
I was gonna say, wait, they already
the
bought
Community of
something.
Christ.
Community
They
of Christ.
bought-
Yeah, that's right.
The Community of Christ is selling off its assets, trying to break even here. They're not doing well financially. That's irony for you.
Right.
Oh, look, check it out, Independence, Missouri. Go take that cross down, put the Corahor sigil up there, and then up here in their steeple, we'll put a 360-degree view all around a telescopic camera, infrared camera, and then put like a little planetarium out front, a free planetarium where everybody can come in any time of the day or night and see and look up at the stars and control the view and be able to see all the stars. That's what I say. That's using a church the way it should be.
There is nothing scarier to me than being in a church at night alone, because there's some creepy feeling in there. I worked in the oldest, biggest, most haunted, spookiest funeral home here in the state of Washington, and I would wheel dead people back to the back with no issues. But put me in a church, and it's just creeps the hell out of me. So I don't know if I could survive in one of those buildings.
And that's we could segue right now to Randy and I are going to do a show about the top 10 tips from, what was your position?
A funeral director.
From a funeral director. Because, you know, everybody that Tim knows is going to die really soon.
Stop that. But it's true.
Well, sadly, we both know Tim, so careful what you say there.
My high school, you know, whatever class, they've started to tell everybody every year how many of our class members have died, and the numbers are growing every year.
Oh yeah, in memoriam.
Okay, so check this out right here. This building, this Catholic church that I'm looking at right now for purchase at $650,000, okay, is in Independence, Missouri, and it's a 6-minute drive, 2.5 miles away from the visitor center of the temple lot. $650,000, and Jesus can come back to the Church of Corahor instead,
and surprise everybody.
It's like, yeah. Here I am. Guess what? I don't exist. I knew it. I
think the church should come out in their new policy and procedure that they no longer have a business arm, and get rid of the mall and the warehouses and all that other stuff that they keep on buying.
Or so convert them to warming centers for those who don't have shelter in the cold.
Right. They could have done that the whole time. Like up in Salt Lake, it's not on LoopNet, but up in Salt Lake County, there's a bunch of LDS churches that are closed and they're for sale. You can find them on other websites and things. And realtors know about them. They're trying to sell those buildings. They're sitting there empty. They could be warming centers. They literally just don't care.
That's not nice.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah. No, if you put in schools, that's the one I meant to say. You put in schools and you find a whole bunch of old Catholic boarding schools, and some of them are kind of neat that are for sale and for like real cheap actually.
You want to talk about haunted churches?
Yeah, haunted boarding schools. I don't know though, man. You could make a business out of haunted boarding schools because you know some creepy things went down there, right? And people.
In fact, that could be the name of the business.
Yeah, creepy things.
Haunted boarding schools are us.
I think we've gotten off topic, but that's funny.
I saw
But yeah,
some
Jesus, I think Jesus would tell the Q15, stop telling everybody I'm coming. I'm not.
Right.
I've been invited to dinner for 2,000 years and I haven't shown up yet. I never get the hint.
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah,
what
and
you
stop
guys are
saying you're
cooking.
the chosen. Telling people they're the chosen generation. How many generations have been told they're the chosen generation? Probably everyone since 1890 something, right?
Yeah,
And
They're
Jesus,
so
all
I think
you were chosen for this time.
yeah.
I was
Psalms, you
told
know
that in
full well.
1973. 73,
You know full
1973.
well that it's Gen X that is the chosen generation. The rest of them just have to be coddled. The millennials.
Harold B. Lee told us in 1973 in the Long Beach Sports Arena that we were the chosen generation.
No, Joe, the Gen X is the first generation that doesn't need to be told that they're the chosen ones. That's what
Right.
the joke.
So baby boomers, see, baby boomers.
They were born knowing.
Yeah, that's like such an old trope from like, I mean, literally, I think the first time they said it was before 1900, right? So they've been saying it for over 100 years. You're the chosen generation. You will actually see Christ. And the people who've been told that, who've died like over the hundreds of years, that's just ridiculous. They need to, that's a Jesus to the Q15 thing. Stop saying that.
That's
Yeah.
right. So Hallie has a point here when she says a rich member could donate and get a tax write-off. Joseph
yeah.
Smith wouldn't have a church if he didn't have benefactors, right? He had, what's his name that bankrolled the 5,000 copies of the Book of Mormon? Who was
Martin
that?
Harris.
Martin Harris.
Martin Harris. His wife, Martin Harris's wife, divorced him because he wasn't smart with his money, right?
Yeah.
And he was
And
violent.
then there was supposed to be some like bunch of widows in the Northeast that Joseph Smith would send missionaries out to go to that person's house and ask for more money for the church. I think Joseph even went there once when he was gonna. Where was he gonna find lost treasure in New England?
Salem,
Massachusetts.
Salem,
Salem.
Massachusetts. And I think he went. Part of that trip was to go to visit the widows that had money that didn't want to sell their houses yet, but they still were Mormons. And so, yes, a rich benefactor is what Joe needs and other people.
That's right.
Even
Where you guys at?
Latter Daily Digest could use a rich benefactor.
Yeah, never mind that.
Yes,
but
you
hey, backing the Church of Korihor. Yeah, let's get some.
That's right.
Let's get some of you rich folk down here. We got to have a conversation. Look at this beautiful building in St. Louis, Missouri. 600.
Allie says her
600
great grandfather gave his farm.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. You know what?
Okay,
Okay, so this is interesting. I have a family relation. I won't tell you how.
Hey, Isaac
close.
Morley. I've heard of Isaac Morley.
Oh, Isaac Morley was the man. Morley's farm.
Yeah, Morley. Wow.
wow.
You must be related to a friend of mine then, Hallie.
Captain Morley. They were Christian communists. People don't believe me when I say this, but that was like a movement back those days before Marx, man. Christian communism was a thing, you know. Sir Thomas More in Utopia, people did it, and Isaac Morley was one of the true ones, you know.
Yeah.
The church still actively looks for donators to contribute land and property, because I have a family relation who is a attorney who works for a law firm arm of the church that is their specialty, is helping facilitate that kind of transaction.
Yeah. Morley has a Wikipedia page that's bigger than the LDS churches.
It says right here. I just want to make a special
Campbellite
announcement.
commune.
I want to make a special announcement that the Church of Korihor is relocating to Sparta, Illinois for $50,000. And this beautiful church we just found. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. We'll have to do some redecorating. But yeah. Sparta, Illinois, here we come.
Okay, it had its own morgue in it.
That's what it looks
I bet they
like.
let you cook in the kitchen.
Yeah. Like you can actually cook something for real in there.
Why did they stop letting people cook in the kitchen? Was that a liability? Like they
It
didn't
was
want to
in the
pay?
90s. It was in the 90s. They became warming centers.
Yep. It's once the tipping point of more than 50%, 50% plus one of Mormons were lawyers, and so they voted that down.
So unfortunate.
I remember them making meals when I was in the single ward where I lived. Like they
Yeah.
would cook a whole meal,
Yeah.
but a few years later it was like, nope, we can't do that anymore. We can only heat up things. I was like, wow, okay.
Yep, that was crazy.
Okay, we're going to stop looking at churches now, and we'll go back.
Yeah.
Maybe you are.
Yeah, well, I can remove it.
You all are
He's
stop
in
looking at
charge.
churches.
We can bring it back up
looking at
on the
churches.
after show if you want to hang out more, but we pretty much have gone over our typical limit.
Yes.
And thanks everybody for watching.
Yes, thank you for being here, folks.
Share, like, and subscribe. It's so fun in Tim's living room, but he never offers us cookies or chips or anything.
Well, cookies. I got cookies. I got.
You
cookies.
forgot
I
to
got
do the opening prayer, Dean.
Girl Scout cookies.
That's right. No opening prayers.
I got Jelly Bellies.
We have anytime you want. We have hymns, and the new hymn that Gene sent me is actually very good. I know you think I didn't listen to it. I listened to like the first 20 seconds before I had to deal with another autism meltdown, and so but the first 20 seconds of that one is very, very good so far.
Yeah, so it has promise.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say.
I'll listen.
Yes.
I'll listen to it later. We'll find out for sure. We'll find out.
Okay, well, we're working on a good topic for next week. We're too bad that Megan's not able to join us. Half of this topic was her idea, but at any given week, if somebody wants to talk about a prior topic and say, "Hey, I meant to say this," or "Remember 3 years ago, I wanted to say something." I don't know if we last that long.
You should
But anyway.
definitely take Randy's beginning and turn it into a short because that was absolutely perfect. We could have just like hit that nail on the head.
I think
Yes.
I'm just going to do Randy's beginning for just the video from now on. I'll just edit it down just for that.
That's just proof that it's straight from God.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Amen. I believe you,
Amen.
brother. I believe.
And Songs, do you have any final words?
No, thanks for letting me come up and hang out with you guys.
That's right. It's after midnight where you are.
Yeah, but we're on spring break, so.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
party time.
Okay.
All right, guys.
It is always nice to see everybody. This is just a fun thing.
Yeah.
Like we say, we would do this show even if nobody watched it, but don't tell that to anybody. Just keep on coming to watch it. Share,
It's
tell your
sacred.
friends,
It's sacred.
come back, and like and subscribe and share and all those things. And we'll see you next time.